From Software's legendary Dark Souls series is known for its difficult but rewarding gameplay and convoluted but captivating lore. Your main source of healing is from draughts of a golden liquid called Estus that you carry in your back pocket, and is refilled each time you rest at a bonfire. The player, as many of you know, is something called an undead. Because you're cursed with the dark sign, you can't stay dead, you eventually come back to life as spry as ever. But the more you die, the more hollow you become, until you're one of the countless mindless zombies roaming the Dark Souls world. Today, we're going to be making our own modern interpretation of Estus, using ingredients inspired by the game's lore. When the player dies, you respawn at the last bonfire you rested at, aka the player is transported to the bonfire with their filled Estus flasks, looking a bit more wrinkly and zombie-like.
We can't die anymore in this video. I can't take it.
We're never given a thorough lore description of how this respawn works. Maybe the player was never transported and you're literally just reanimating where you last fell. Maybe your physical body was sucked into the bonfire and spat back out. Either way, undeads reanimate endlessly because of their dark sign. In-game, so do non-human enemies like demons and animals, but dark signs are exclusive to humankind. Estus is not the same magic that can actually revive felled undead like the dark sign does. It's not the force that's converging entire countries closer together and freezing lands into stasis. It's not something that can reverse your hollowing progression. It's something that, I guess, heals immediate stab wounds as they happen and the like.
Here, take this. An Estus flask, an undead favorite.
It's all but explicit that Estus is exclusive to undead people. Not every character in-game is undead, and the few confirmed non-undead NPCs are never shown drinking Estus. Ancient god Lloyd, who hated the undead, used a talisman that blocked Estus usage within a certain proximity. Perhaps Estus is indeed intricate to the undead experience, as suggested by the item description, the undead treasure these dull green flasks. Basically, Estus itself is a liquid that heals undead and undead only. Thing is, Estus isn't a holy healing magic. Humans exist almost in opposition to the divine of Dark Souls. We hold humanity within ourselves, which is more closely related to the feared abyss than the power of fire. Gwyn feared humanity because they represented a slowly upcoming, inevitable age when his rule becomes obsolete. Humans are considered to be the catalyst of the Age of Dark, which naturally should come after the current Age of Fire. We, as human undead, are not reliant on fire the same way one might think when first introduced to the concept of Estus. It's the bonfires that heal the undead when you sit at them, so since you refill your flask at these bonfires, many people assume that Estus is just that, bottled bonfire flame. After all, Estus is Latin for heat. The undead curse came into existence the same time Gwyn refused to let the Age of Fire pass, and tried to prolong the first flame by throwing himself into it. The fact that undead humans are revived at bonfires might be something of a side effect of Gwyn's pig-headedness. Humans are cursed to follow Gwyn's footsteps in some roundabout, coincidental way. So long as this current Age of Fire is prolonged, we can't die. We can't move on. We're all bound to fires and bonfires and the first flame as prisoners. Therefore, these bonfires exist throughout the world maybe because they're little branches of the first flame, and your undead curse is what reacts to the bonfires, not you specifically. So, we can say that drinking Estus is merely prolonging your undead curse, the same way that your dark sign is a product of Gwyn's forced prolonging of this current age. Estus isn't the holy healing potion that people might think, it's just bottled first flame essence that increases your undead life, your undead curse. Fire is life-giving, but not being able to move on from this Age of Fire, not being able to continue time and stay forever bound to fire, now that's a curse. And yet there's another theory, and this one is what I personally think From Software intended. What if becoming hollow was what humans were naturally supposed to be? After all, according to the intro cinematic in the first game, everyone was hollow before they found a soul. Insert anonymous soul number 436 found the specific soul that allowed them to transform into Mr. Gwyn, and the same with the Silver Knights and Nito and so on. Humans are a special case. We didn't find individual souls. One person, called the Furtive Pygmy, split their own special dark soul into several fragments, each one giving rise to a human, so forth creating the human race. That's why humans are related to the dark. It explains why every Dark Souls game keeps having characters fill the same roles, even though they're meant to be separate people. Every time the first flame is fed souls and relit, all the souls fed to that flame disperse and eventually find their place in the world once more. So if you land the asshole soul upon your birth, then you'll be given to repeat the previous incarnation's actions. It's very Buddhist to portray souls as rebirthing, for immortality to be a curse, and for breaking the ever-going cycle of respawning, aka reincarnation, as an aspiration. Gwyn can't let go of his attachments for his legacy, so he's living a forever burning, torturous, reincarnation-laden life. The Dark Souls series has a lot of eldritch writing thanks to its use of manipulating time and space. It makes sense that From Software's next game, Bloodborne, was all about that Lovecraftian genre. The Ring City DLC of Dark Souls 3 finally confirmed the popular theory that Gwyn himself gave humans the Dark Sign, rather than the Dark Sign just appearing on humans one day or something. It's not the gaping hole leaking out dark, it's the ring of fire that surrounds it and suppresses it. Estus is more related to Gwyn's shackles upon humanity than it intends to actually heal us. Who of Dark Souls history invented Estus? It's never said. Dark Souls is split between two extremes. Either there's some deep, artsy lore behind why something is what it is, or we just kinda have to accept it because video game logic. There's a reason why Filianor is cradling a cracked egg when you find her sleeping corpse, but there's probably no lore reason why items in-game glow a shiny white sprite. As far as the creation of Estus goes, our two clues are the whole bonfire connection and the description of the flask that holds it. An emerald flask from the Keeper's soul. She lives to protect the flame and dies to protect it further. Firekeepers are people who dedicate their lives to tending and protecting a single bonfire throughout their lives. And in the last two Dark Souls games, they're the only way you can level up. Firekeepers are allies to the undead. They protect the bonfire and therefore protect your sake. Protect from what, I don't know, but they stand there all day regardless. After all, the death of a firekeeper resulted in the snuffing of a bonfire. Although Estus isn't divine ambrosia of the heavens, it's still a concoction meant to serve you, to heal you. Not healing you of all curses and afflictions completely, but good enough. The reach of a firekeeper persists whenever you take a draught of Estus. So you're carrying around this flask of glowing liquid to swig whenever you get a Dragon Slayer arrow through your noggin. Therefore, to recreate Estus, I began thinking of protein shakes. Other people tend to go in the alcoholic direction, possibly as a homage to the whole fire sensation, but I think of real-life Estus as a medicine rather than a draught of liquid courage. If curing the dark sign was antibiotics, Estus would be Muscle Milk's non-dairy everyday protein formula. Protein shakes aren't as hokey as some might believe. While there's no real evidence that building muscle requires a higher protein intake, using bodybuilding supplements can intake protein while omitting the carbs and salts irrelevant to building muscle mass. Basically, a protein shake contains the stuff you need to repair muscle micro-injury. You can imagine a magical version of a protein shake to instantly heal your sore muscles after a workout, complete with a fiery kindling animation. The most popular source of protein in these shakes is whey protein. Soy, egg, and rice are also common. Whey, for those of you who don't know, is part of the cheese-making process. After the fat of milk has been curdled and removed to become cheese, the liquid that remains is called whey. Basically, it contains a lot of the milk nutrients without the fat. There's a sort of powdered milk aftertaste, but most overbearingly, it's the artificial flavoring of the powder itself, tainted with a horrifying cloying artificial sugar. So you need to find unflavored powder, none of the chocolate or cookies and cream ones. And like Rocky has shown us, you don't need branded protein powder to make a protein shake. Most popular protein shakes from scratch is with egg whites. However, using just eggs doesn't result in a lot of protein, so people usually add more sources such as peanut butter. I do like the idea of using eggs for this recipe. It's poetic since this is a healing potion with the imagery of breaking an egg shell and consuming its fluid and yolk. However, consuming raw eggs in select countries such as the USA runs the risk of salmonella poisoning. Therefore, we're going to use powdered egg yolk. It's a known ingredient for professional bakers, and only the yolk because that's where the protein is, and it's where we'll get a nice source of yellow. The entire ingredient list for 1 Estus flask is 1 tablespoon of powdered egg yolk, 1 tablespoon unflavored, unsweetened protein powder, 1 1/3 cup of almond milk, 2 to 4 teaspoons of honey, a pinch of turmeric, and a pinch of fine hot pepper powder. As with all my Gamer Cooking Reciplore recipes, I choose the ingredients to emulate the time and setting. Estus is likely not supposed to be deconstructed into groceries a Brighton peasant can gather, but the rule still stands. Almond milk was a popular drink during the European plate armor days. Raw honey instead of purified white sugar. Hot pepper powder would not have been available before the Columbian Exchange was well underway, but I wanted to include some quote-unquote outworldly ingredients that represented the power of Gwyn or something.
Don't have a choice, I guess. Potatoes it is.
Turmeric is indigenous to Southeast Asia, which in real life would have translated some native ingredients to Europe during the Crusades, but it would have been ruinously expensive. The turmeric gives a deeper yellow color to the mix, and the chili powder provides the slightest smoky burn to the aftertaste. A pinch of either probably won't be tasted when you take a swig. It's only after you swallow do you feel the slight peppery bitterness of the turmeric and the smokiness of the pepper, along with a soft burn on your lips. Very true to Estus's bonfire origins. Making this protein shake is easy. Combine, stir, or blend, and serve in whatever vaguely Estus bottle-shaped glassware you find at a thrift store. It's low calorie, great for energy, and it tastes perfectly decent.
It takes commitment, determination, discipline, sacrifice.
Thank you for watching this edition of Gamer Cooking Reciplore, and stay tuned for more in the future.